Talk to me a little bit about the kids intervention. What are you and your colleagues trying to address?
One of the things that we know from a lot of research that's gone over like 20 years from when kids were really little to when they're grown-ups is that how kids come into kindergarten, whether they're prepared and ready to learn, has a huge effect on how they proceed through school and whether they graduate, whether they are able to have a job when they're out of school, even things like teen pregnancy and using substances. And we also know that kids who get a chance to have quality early childhood education experiences often do come to school ready to learn. But we also know that because of systemic barriers, lack of funding, and other circumstances, not every child has a chance to be ready to come to school. And when we talk about ready, we mean not only what people might normally think of as, reading, writing, and arithmetic, so knowing letters and numbers, but also having the basic skills to be able to sit still and pay attention to a teacher, or to be able to work it out if you get into an argument with your friend without maybe hitting your friend or without throwing a temper tantrum in the classroom. And so we think of those skills, people talk about them, they call them social emotional skills. Some people talk about them as soft skills. But what we know from a lot of research is that they're really foundational in terms of letting kids be able to learn and to be able to soak up the information when they get into school. And these are things that they may not always get in their early childhood programs. So given that we want all kids to be able to start school and have the best chance possible for success, my colleagues and I decided to design a program that would be accessible to kids who might not have had the early childhood experiences that tend to be longer, like an academic year experience, but would still prepare them to really be able to come into school ready to learn and ready to succeed.
Can you give me some examples of what type of techniques are in the kids intervention that would provide these kids these skills?
We work really hard to make the kids' classroom seem just like a kindergarten classroom. We have the same sorts of routines. We do circle time, we do art activities, and what we make sure that we also do that's very explicit and perhaps different than other programs is that we really talk about what it means to show some of the social skills we talk about. So sharing, we kind of throw that expression at kids a lot, but do kids really know what that means? And so we really break it down for them and tell them what sharing means. It means that you can share your space, you can share your materials, you can share a compliment. We work at things like, what does it mean to be friendly? Or how do you share a compliment with your friend? How do you tell them that you like their t-shirt? And we teach kids those skills, and then we give them multiple opportunities to practice them across the time that we're together in the classroom. We also work with our teachers. Another component of kids is to do training and coaching with the folks who are actually teaching the program. And we work with them to really work on positive reinforcement and helping kids scaffold skills so that if we figure out where a child is coming from, we don't think about deficits, we think about where are they starting from, what are their strengths, and then continue to build on those strengths. So the teachers are very attuned to being able to help the kids practice sharing, practice cooperation, practice self-regulation. We talk about what it means to be disappointed and frustrated. And we have a circle time and kids have to raise their hands and get called on, and not everybody will get called on. And so they work on, what do you say? Can you shrug your shoulders and say, oh well? We also practice multiple transitions. So we'll go from the circle time to the desks to an art activity, because in a classroom, that's where you lose. If you're gonna lose your kids' attention and they're gonna get disruptive, that can be a prime time to do that. So we practice what it means to quietly move from one activity to another, what it means to stop an activity if you're not done and you really want to continue, but we got to go on to the next thing. So multiple opportunities to practice with teachers who will also give kids really positive reinforcement. So maybe they didn't get the whole skill right, but they were able to do half of it. They were able to share with their friend for 10 seconds, and we can reinforce them and say, I really liked how you shared with your friend. in order to keep the positives going, because it's really hard if somebody's always saying no or stop or don't and not telling you what to do to understand what the skill is. And so we work really hard to break things down for kids and make it really clear what it is that we want them to do.
How is the intervention incorporated into the classroom?
We do it during the summer before kids go into school. So we're working with them to really boost up their skills before they get into the classroom. And we have them go for the summertime. Usually it's 8 weeks, sometimes it's 12. They're 24 sessions for the kids, and they come in for 2 hours a day. And so they really, during that time, we like to say that we don't waste any learning time in that period, is that we really work during that entire session on these skills, working on circle time and letters and numbers. We even have snack time. When the kids sit down for snack, we have the teachers sit with them and they model, do you like Jimmy's shirt? Why don't you tell him you like his shirt? You like that color? Is that your favorite color? And really work on how do you make conversation with other kids, and how do you make friends?
How do you get parents to get their kids into these programs?
We also, I should mention, have a parent component in this program, so we know how important it is for parents to be involved in their kids' schooling, that really makes a difference. So we wanted to give parents the opportunity from the beginning and get them involved in the kids program so that they can be practice. They've had practice at being involved. So we actually have 8 sessions that we do with parents. And they come in and they have a parent group facilitator, and they learn about things like fun things to do at home that they can just do. They don't have to buy kits or materials or special games, but what can you do while you're doing your laundry that can help your child learn skills like counting and colors. And we also talk about some positive parenting skills. So the same sorts of things that we talk to the teachers about. If you're going to teach a child a skill, tell them what to do. We work with the parents to do the same thing, so they can keep learning going in the home in the same ways when kids get to school. And we also talk to them about how to get involved in school, because we know that parents have a wide range of experiences with school. They might have loved it, they might have hated it, they might have felt like they never got along with their teachers. So we work with parents around, how could you be comfortable being in this school? Who would you talk to if something was happening with your child? Getting them to come to KITS. We have parents who are recruited, and we talk to them about the need for kids to have a positive start in school. And so we're able to most parents, it might be hard to get them into a class that was billed as a parenting class, but nobody's going to argue with coming in, with coming in to help their kid get ready for school. So it's a really positive kind of experience for everybody, because we're just trying to prepare them the best that we can.
Talk to me about the study that you guys did.
We wanted to try KITS out with kids who were experiencing developmental disabilities or delays. We worked with an agency, or the agency that provides early intervention and early childhood special education services across Lane County, Oregon, and had kids who the folks who'd been working with them as service coordinators felt they could use some strengthening of their social and behavioral skills. And they were recruited into a study. We had randomized assignment, so they were either randomized to be in the study or to receive any other services they might otherwise receive. And they spent the summer. We had them come in. They came in twice a week during the summertime and had the KITS program, and we had the parents involved. They also come in once a week for 2 hours. And we compared how those kids were doing both right after the program, at the end of kindergarten and at the end of first grade, with how the kids who had not had the program were doing.
What were the findings?
We found and published some results that we had the children who had been in the KITS program were showing better literacy skills, as described by their teachers. And their teachers had no idea whether they'd been in the study or not, because it all took place outside of the school. Better literacy skills in the fall. And then we also found that their teachers rated them as having better self-regulation skills at the end of kindergarten, at the end of the kindergarten year. And the parents also showed differences in their skills. So at the end of the KITS program, right at the end of the summer, they were reporting that they were able to be more consistent in their parenting with their kids, which is important because if you're having trouble maintaining some consistency with your kids, so sometimes you say no to something, but sometimes you say yes, we know that that can be really confusing for kids and make it harder for them to follow directions. So we found that the parents who'd had the KITS program and participated were doing better at being consistent. And then that led to them being more involved in school. The teachers, again, rated them being more involved in school at the end of kindergarten. So their kids were showing better self-regulation, better ability to really control frustration, pay attention, not be disruptive in class, and the parents were more involved, which is, a recipe for success in school.
How can you get parents to take these classes if they're working during the day or they have 2 jobs that they have to work? How can you get the parents to first get in and stay in?
Parents, we know these days have a lot to do. And we try to make it as easy as possible in that we have not only the opportunity to come in person to classes, but definitely we have online classes that can take place in the evenings. And that really has helped us be able to have parents attend. We make sure that parents who come have childcare for the siblings, any siblings of the child who's in KITS. And if they are doing it from home, we also work with them if they need to have childcare, if they need help with Wi-Fi or computers. And we try to make it, if they cannot come to the sessions, we'll have the parent group facilitator meet with them either outside the sessions, so sometimes we've met with parents in parks so they can bring the kids along and they can play on the playground. We also can do phone calls. So we really do understand that parents are busy, but they want to be involved. So we try to make it as easy as possible to do it around the parents' schedules.
What can parents take away from the KITS program that they can implement at home?
I think one of the most important things when you're trying to teach any new behavior, whether it's about school or not, is to tell children what to do. And no, stop, don't may stop them for a minute, but it doesn't give them an alternative. So if you want your child to pick up their shoes, you don't want to say, don't leave your shoes there. You want to say, please put your shoes on the stairs, or please put your shoes wherever you want them. So to do, not no, stop, don't. Another thing that I think parents really can work on at home that's really important for school is the idea of self-regulation. And so that may be just as simple as playing a game of red light, green light. Or, how long do you think you could wait before we start your movie? Just little things that gradually increase kids' abilities to wait. Talking to them about things that they can do if they don't get what they want. What could they do? Could they think about, oh, well, maybe I'll get that next time? Just conversations that you can have during the day, just that will help kids gradually build up their abilities to wait and to handle frustration and bigger feelings that can sometimes get in the way.
And for teachers, what tips and advice would you give to them?
Working with kids to really, we know that we're going to get frustrated. We know that things aren't going to go right in school, or your friend's going to knock your pencil off the table. So again, talking with kids ahead of time about some strategies for dealing with disappointment, for dealing with frustration, like you could say to your friend, that made me unhappy. Could you help me pick up the pencil, instead of yelling? Or, talking with kids about if they aren't called immediately, if somebody doesn't recognize their raised hand, then that they might be called again, or that they could shrug their shoulders and go, maybe next time. And so, little things that are seemingly little that really do help kids by giving them skills ahead of time before they get into the middle of feeling really frustrated and disappointed. If they've talked about it beforehand, they're much more likely to use those skills as they go forward and as they get into that situation.
The teachers that take part in the KITS coaching over the summer, are they more likely to implement those skill sets during the school year?
Yeah, we've asked them what they've done, what they do during the school year, and they all say, and these are teachers, we have teachers who've taught for 1 year, we've had teachers who've taught for 25 years that work with us, and teachers who work with kindergartners, teachers who work with 6th graders, and 100% of them have said that they use the skills that they learn in KITS in the classrooms. and that and very high percentages of them say that that helps them to feel less frustrated and more in control during the school year when they're dealing with their regular classes.
What are some things that maybe they didn't learn during formal training that you think now, looking back, that maybe they should have learned or would have been helpful for them to learn?
I think that one thing that we don't work with teachers enough on in their formal training, I think that we do a really nice job of telling them or working with them to teach academics, but one of the things that we work really hard on in the kids training is working with teachers about teaching social emotional skills, because it's a different skill set than how to read. It is really helping kids to build up their skills in knowing when they're feeling big emotions or knowing when somebody else is, and working with them in a way that builds up that skill positively. So we do a lot of talk about positive reinforcement and really working with kids to see the strengths and building on them. So I think it is a different thing to teach social emotional skills, and more we hear that teachers are needing to do that in the classroom. And so I think that is something that we can provide to teachers as part of we do provide to teachers as part of the kids training and coaching that then filters out into all of their teaching.
Are there any potential challenges that teachers might run into implementing this into their classrooms?
Most of the work that we've done has been in the summertime, so that makes it easier for teachers because they're not doing all the other things that they do. We've recently started to actually have kindergarten teachers implement it during the fall in their classrooms, so starting from when kids come to school. And that's gone really well. Teachers enjoy that. The challenge is always finding the time. I think there are so many things that teachers are being asked to do throughout a school day now. Being able to slot that in there is always, we just have to decide where. But the teachers who've done the kids program in the fall and certainly in the summer feel like it's really been worth the time.
How can teachers get buy-in from administrators?
I think by talking about what is going on in the classrooms and what they need in terms of being able to have kids, all the kids be able to have sort of an even ground in terms of the foundations of being ready to learn and ready to interact with their friends and other adults in the school. Can be a way to do that. We definitely have heard from teachers all over who have implemented kits that they can tell in the fall when a kid who's been in the kits classroom over the summer walks in versus a child who hasn't, that there's a very real difference there. And so I think being able to say we need children who are prepared can be a way to get administrator buy-in. Because they'll spend, when it comes down to money, as it often comes down to funding, is a child who's ready to go and ready to learn is going to cost less and use fewer resources in terms of, they're not going to need remedial education, they might not need special education services, and they are not going to take up resources because they're going to be able to deal with their peers. We're not going to have as much, sending kids to the office or having other staff who have to take a child out of the classroom.
What would you want policymakers to know?
That we have to have kids ready for school and that every single child deserves this chance. We unfortunately don't yet have universal quality early education services for every child in this country. And so since we don't have that yet from 0 to 5, being able to make sure that there is something in place that's evidence-based that can help them be ready to enter school with the best skills possible and really give them the best chance possible, I think is something that we owe all kids and families.
For the study, how many kids were involved and what were the ages?
They were all about to enter kindergarten, so they tended to be really tightly centered around like 4.5 to 5. And there were 209 children in that study.
Anything that I didn't ask you that you feel that people should know?
I think that one of the things that is nice about our program and what we do is that we really are concentrated. I think a lot of the time people assume that the solution might be in changing the child, or it might be in just making the parents a little, more skilled. And what I like about the program that we have is that we really do focus on the child, on the parent, and then on the teaching staff, so that we have the entire sort of system involved in KITS and really working together with the same kinds of techniques. We teach the parents the techniques the teachers are using to really strengthen the child and give them the support that they need to be able to be successful.